We are sitting here with Megan Massacre. Megan, thank you for taking the time to sit and talk with us today.
Absolutely.
Can you just start off by telling everybody what city you're from and what shop you work at?
I have a tattoo studio called Grit and Glory. It's a tattoo shop and a clothing boutique, and it's located in New York City in the Lower East Side.
How long has the tattoo shop been around?
It's been about 4 years since I opened the tattoo shop and about 6 years since it opened as a clothing shop.
Can you talk about the other artists who are at Grit and Glory?
There's quite a few of us over at Grit and Glory. I'll start out with Ruben Barahona. He's originally from Guatemala. He actually has a tattoo shop there as well. And he's been with us over a year now, and he does a lot of color realism. A lot of big scale pieces. He loves like comic book sort of Marvel style stuff. He's working on a really cool Daredevil piece here at the convention this weekend. Yeah, so he's great. Another guy, Kavan Infante, he does a lot more graphic, kind of pop culture, really funny reference tattoos. He's been with us about a year now, and then we have a couple girls with us here at the convention as well. Joyce Wang, she's been with us a little over a year as well, and she does more realistic flower, pretty kind of style stuff. And then Georgia May is with us here at the Richmond Convention this weekend as well. She's from Australia. Some may remember her from a TV show I did called Bondi Inc. We worked together on it. And she does more of a neo-traditional style. She's been with us about 6 months. And then we have a bunch more girls at the shop. Alicia Gorey, she's been with us, I think almost a year now. She does a lot more graphic, black work style with dot work in there. Really cool stuff. We have Janice Danger. She does a lot of floral pieces, very fine, like line work, black work style. And who else? We have Heather Hellion. Heather's amazing because she kind of does a little bit of everything. Anything you throw her way, she can do amazingly. She usually leans a little bit more towards the traditional or neo-traditional style. And then we have Nikki Simpson. She recently joined us this year. Some may recognize her from, I think she's Ink Master and Ink Master Angels, and she does really beautiful tattoos of more of a neo-traditional style women. They're really pretty ladies, so they're very fun to look at. And then we have sort of a resident guest artist who works with us about a week every month. His name is Travis Ross. He does mostly black and gray, and he does a lot of lettering. Very cool stuff.
Prior to moving to New York, you previously worked in Philadelphia.
I did, yeah.
With Paul Acker.
At Deep Six, which is now the Seance Tattoo Parlor.
Yep. Both cities, Philadelphia and New York, have legendary tattoo shops in their city. Can you tell us about how the New York scene changed over the years and how the Philadelphia scene possibly changed while you were there?
Oh man, you're asking me to like reflect so long ago. You know, Philadelphia, for me personally, always had a really amazing art scene. There's always a lot of artists, like really talented artists and really talented shops. It started off as just a few, I remember when I started there, but I think over like the past 10 years, I've seen it sort of blow up from like a few really cool, like really specific different styles of shops now, like a whole bunch, which is really amazing. I remember when I worked there, you know, obviously Philadelphia Eddie was around, you know, now he's not, so that has definitely changed, which is always sad, but, you know, there's a lot of great young artists starting out there too. In New York, you know, there's a lot of shops in New York. There was a lot of shops when I moved there in 2010. There's a lot more now in 2018. And again, like a lot of really talented and amazing artists and shops. Competition is high in New York.
Yes,
you know, you have you have shops that are every different specific style, and then shops mixed with a bunch of different talented people. So it can be difficult to stand out there, and you really have to have something special to have clients want to come to you. You know, it's a tough world there.
Is there anything that Grit and Glory does to try to stand out above the other shops?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that we try to stand out above other people, just stand out and be different, you know, than other shops, because by no means do we think that we are the best shop, but we know that we are one of the best shops, if that makes any sense. Because we're friends with a lot of other tattoo shops there. I think that's one thing that we try to do to stand out, is have it be more of a New York tattoo community as opposed to like a competition with everybody. You know, we have a lot of friends at other shops. We visit their events, we invite them to our events, we try to collaborate and do things together, which I think is pretty cool and fun. I think the obvious thing is that we're a clothing store and a tattoo shop. There's no other store like that in New York City. You know, you might have a tattoo studio that has some shirts, you know, there, but we are a full-on like clothing boutique with housewares and everything. And we really try to combine, you know, the two sides of it, the tattooing and the clothing, by having a lot of our artists get into the designing of the t-shirts and the housewares and stuff like that. So we try to have it more like a tattoo lifestyle brand. It's also a cool hangout spot. A lot of people come and just like hang out with us and chill for the day.
So talking about the shop and all the merchandise, how did that evolve? I mean, how did that come to be to where it is today?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say, you know, around the time, I guess it was about 4 years ago, so 2014, the shop that I was in at the time was going to be moving to a different location.
Was that Worcester?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, I really loved working at Worcester Street. It was an amazing experience. But as somebody who's worked at 12 different shops, mm-hmm. I've always just worked at a shop for a few years and moved somewhere else because I personally need change to grow. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking of working at a new shop just for a new experience. And there's a lot to choose from in New York. But I just didn't really feel quite comfortable anywhere. And I just so happened to have two friends, Veronica and Emily, who are now my business partners, that had this super amazing, cool clothing store, and it was huge in Lower East Side, and I would go there and hang out with them. And, you know, they had asked me, hey, you know, we want to make some cool t-shirts. Do you want to design shirts with us? And I was like, hell yeah, girls. Like, I love it. And we had the same aesthetic style, so I started making shirts with them and modeling for them. And after a while, I was like, shit, I wish I could just tattoo here. And they were like, well, maybe we could do that. And then we decided to go into business together, and I just opened up a tattoo shop there.
That's an interesting, I mean, it's very unique. Mm-hmm. You don't really hear too many shops being like that. Yeah,
I mean, for me, I am not a person who ever wanted to own a tattoo studio. People had asked me my entire career, like, oh, when you get older, been tattooing longer, do you want to open up a shop? I was like, hell no, because I love tattooing, mm-hmm. and I just want to focus on tattooing. I don't want to worry about like numbers and business and managing people. That is not my style, right? I have my own things to do. But when this opportunity came up with my business partners, who are my really good friends at the same time, it just came about so naturally and organically and so comfortably that I was like, this just feels right, and it feels like the right time. And I'm really glad I did it because I love it.
You mentioned modeling between running Grit and Glory. Mm-hmm. Modeling and tattooing, your schedule seems, I would imagine, is pretty chaotic.
It's insane.
Can you...
I don't even know how I deal.
Kind of run us through an average day, if there is an average day?
There is not an average day. I have a pretty strict schedule, and it's different every single day. But in general, I can't even say that I wake up like the same time every day. I try to wake up by like 8 every day, and usually I have been working so late the night before that it's like struggling to get out of bed. The alarm goes off 3 times, wake up, and like for me, I look like I'm ready at this convention. There is no time to like get ready. Like girls take the time to do the hair and the makeup. Like me, I have like an outfit right next to my bed, like 10-minute shower, outfit change, out the door, right? I'm either driving, getting a ride, or taking the train into the city. My usual first stop is the gym. Gym was never a priority for me because I was always too busy working, but after 15 years of tattooing, I have like ruined my body from not taking care of it properly, from working too much, and now instead of working out to like be in shape, I'm working out to fix all of the problems that I've developed in my hands and my back and everything. So I usually spend about an hour at the gym working with a physical therapist to get back. And then, of course, because I have no time, my gym is literally right next to my shop.
That's nice.
So I shower there and I run right over to the shop. I try to get there either around when it opens or an hour before. Some days I'm tattooing. If so, you know, I'm just going in, prepping, working on 7-hour-long tattoo. So getting ready for that. If I'm not, I'm helping my business partners work on the clothing side of the store, or even just managing the tattoo side of the store. Every single day has a different purpose for me during the week, whether it's like tattooing or clothing, designing, ordering stuff, you know what I mean, cleaning. Like I'm pretty full on. I do most of it.
How much time do you spend tattooing during the week? I mean, like, do you have like days set aside throughout the week that you're on tattoo?
Right now I tattoo 3 days out of the week. Mm-hmm.
You were talking about going to the gym because of years of tattooing causing you health issues. What do? Do you do yoga? Do you just do strength training to try to strengthen your back?
I'm getting into doing yoga and Pilates. I think that they're both really, really good, but I'm sort of just exploring that right now because I first wanted to start working with a physical therapist who was going to help me specifically correct certain issues, because there's actually things that like I couldn't do in yoga because my body doesn't move that way anymore. So I'm going through therapy to just like fix my body so it can bend the proper ways that it needs to. It sounds crazy, but like any advice I could give for like younger tattooers is like really make sure you exercise and keep yourself in shape, you know what I mean, and don't overwork yourself over time, because tattooing is a pretty debilitating field. You're like hunched over all day, and like, it's a bad position to be in.
Did your physical therapist try to help you change your posture of tattooing?
That's exactly what we're working on right now. But for me, after 15 years, it's so like ingrained in me. It's so hard to fix. So
you go back to the normal way you're sitting. Every
day I have to do exercises to correct it, but it's actually working, and I know it's working because people I know have come up to me and been like, "Oh my God, you're sitting really straight today. Your posture looks really good today," and I'm like, "Oh, great, thanks." It's like the biggest compliment. So it's working.
That's good to hear. Yeah. You're probably inundated with requests from customers. How do you go about picking the tattoos that you want to do?
Well, I have help. I have assistants that help me set up appointments, and they know me really well. And they know the kind of stuff that I would like to do. So they sort of like, they greet everybody that emails and talk to them a little bit about, all the information about their tattoo. And then I kind of take a look. They're like, okay, I think these are the ones you would like to do. And we just sit down and talk to everybody about their projects. Because I only tattoo 3 days a week, I do try to really pick specific things that, inspire me. Because obviously as an artist, if something inspires you, you're going to do it better. Right? And I do have a whole team of people at the shop, so if it's not something that is sort of my style at the time, I try to refer them to somebody else that works with me. Yeah.
What's your wait list like?
It's actually not too crazy. I usually book out about 3 months in advance because I have people helping me, and because we have this weed through process of, look, if it's not something that I want to do, we tell you and we refer you to somebody else. I don't have like a whole bunch of people waiting, you know what I mean? Because I get them tattooed by everybody else in my shop.
How much of a role do you have in designing the merchandise for the merchandise section of Grit and Glory?
So the way the merchandise section works is we have our own Grit and Glory line. We actually have 2 lines. We have another line called Tats and Tails, which is a line that we use where we sell the clothes are 25% go to like an animal charity. So right now it goes to the local ASPCA, but we're opening it up to other animal charities. So for the Grit and Glory and the Tats and Tails line, I design a bunch of it along with the other artists and business partners at the shop. We also have another section that's merchandising, that's our friends' merchandise, not our company. So I don't design any of that. It's just other cool companies that we really like. We like to bring them in the store as well.
I know you travel quite a bit.
I travel a lot.
What other conventions do you enjoy? We're at the Richmond convention, but what other conventions do you enjoy doing?
I mean, it's hard to like pick just one out. I do a lot of conventions, I guess I could rattle off some of my favorites. It's like half because the convention is really great, but half because the area that it's in is awesome, like the Hawaii convention. Yep. It's such a well-organized, super fun convention. I work it every other year usually, and it's in Hawaii, so it's beautiful. Yes. I mean, the way that I work conventions at this point is, there's tried and true ones. I've done so many conventions over my career, so it usually has to like strike off the like, it's a well-organized convention, people are super nice and super cool, and then also a nice place that I want to visit, right? I'm trying to think of some cool ones. I just did a really nice one in Van Isle, Canada, which is about an hour outside of Vancouver. It was only the second year, but that was a great convention. It's been years since I've done it, but I always remember Calgary being a really specifically like well-organized and really cool convention. Philadelphia is always good. It's huge, it's big, it's crazy. It's a little too crazy for me, I have to be honest with you, but I mean, obviously that's good for business. I'm trying to think of where else. I actually do a convention in Guatemala every year. That's my favorite convention. It's really small and it's been developing over the years. but it's really cool because it's a really cool, unique place with like a lot of history, and I just really like visiting there. So that's one of my favorite places. I'm trying to think. I did this convention in France last year. That was 2 years ago. No, it was a smaller convention. The Cezanne Tattoo Convention. That was like a couple years ago. That was really fun. And they all kind of bleed together, I have to be honest.
It's hard. This weekend during Richmond, London show's going on also. And I think there's a show up in the New York area.
There is. My boyfriend's working there right now.
You could literally spend every weekend at a convention, it seems like.
I think there's another one in Colorado too. I saw somebody post about. I always think that's crazy. Like, you know, when you're planning a convention ahead of time, so far ahead, I feel like there's so many weekends in the year, like try to space the conventions out, right? Because sometimes I'd like to be at all 5 conventions that are happening, but you just can't do that, you know? That's why some conventions I work every other year, because every year there's 2 on the same exact weekend, so I have to split it, you know?
So your typical tattoos, do you focus more on single shot tattoos, most likely?
I do like half and half, right?
What's your ratio of large scale project versus single shot?
Well, I guess it depends on what you define as a large-scale project, right? Because I'm not really working on back pieces and like huge like panels, right? I think a large-scale piece for me would be a sleeve.
That's what I'm,
or like maybe like a large like thigh piece.
Something that takes multiple sessions.
I would say half of my sessions are like that. You know, a lot of my clients are not from New York. A lot of my clients are flying in from all over the world. And you know, between the price of the tattoo, the price of their travel, the price of the hotel, the price of just hanging out in New York City for a couple days, which is super. A lot of times these tattoos end up being one shot because it's not exactly convenient for those people to come back multiple times. And I really appreciate the fact that people want to do that, so I do make a lot of time for those one-shot tattoos. But I really like working on large-scale pieces because it gives me an opportunity to be a little bit more creative and spend more time on a piece. So the other half of my clients are usually local from like the Northeast coast, you know, driving in within a few hours. And, you know, I have a few clients I'm working on sleeves and like I said, usually like sleeves or big thigh pieces. That's what people mostly get from me.
I was looking through your Instagram and it seemed like a lot of them were one shots. But I mean, like the problem with sleeves is you don't want to post a lot of artists don't post progress photos.
I have like one sleeve that I'm posting progress of just because it's so crazy. It's like this giant raven. It's this guy's like whole arm, and every time I do it, it takes so long because I'm doing each individual little feather over time. So I just keep showing everybody because I'm like, look at all these fucking feathers. But yeah, I post progress sometimes, but yeah, I don't usually post it until it's finished.
That makes sense. So, general question we ask to a lot of artists. If there was one positive and negative thing about the tattoo industry that you could change, if you had a magic wand and you could just snap your finger, ding, and change it, what would it be?
I think if I could change something on the negative side to be more positive, I would love to see less divide between different kinds of tattoo artists, right? It's almost like cliques in high school a little bit. You know, you have this style, this style, this style, this style, and some people are awesome and everybody gets along and, you know, it's all like puppies and kittens, right? But then there are a lot of people that sort of stick together and like kind of hate on other styles or older tattooers or newer tattooers or people who use this or people who use that and all this other thing. But like, who really gives a shit, right? All you have to worry about is you and what you're doing. And, you know, it's okay that other people do different things than you. If we were all the same, it wouldn't make anybody individual or special or unique, right? It's what our differences that make us, you know, who we are. But we all still are part of the same general community or industry or whatever term you want to use to say it. And there's just no reason to take your time, like waste your time putting negativity into it. Like simply just don't say anything at all. But it'd be cool if everybody would just be a little bit more friendly with one another. We'd all probably gain a lot from one another. I would say, as for something that I think is great, as somebody who has been tattooing for a while and has seen it go from like before television to social media to, you know, now tattooing is so popular. You know, when I first started tattooing, I got a lot of tattoos really fast, right? So I was like a young girl with a lot of heavily tattooed in a society that hadn't even seen tattooing on TV or wasn't really exposed to it yet. And I can tell you that when I walked outside, people were like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? They would openly tell me, like, you're going to regret that one day. When you have kids, you're going to regret that. Nobody's going to want to marry you. You're never going to get a job. Like, I would hear this from strangers when I walked outside. Like, you wouldn't walk up to somebody and say they had a bad haircut, right? Because that's rude. But for some reason, that didn't apply to people with tattoos. Now, that was 15 years ago. Now, 15 years later, you walk outside with a bunch of tattoos, people love you. People are like, oh my God, those are so cool. Oh, let me touch you. And we all hate it. But we're like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. And they're like, oh, they think you're pretty. They think you're sexy. They think you're cool, right? And you get nothing but compliments. And I think that a lot of that has to do with television and technology, right? I think that there's a lot of people that are on both sides of that. If they either hate the tattoo shows or they love the tattoo shows, or hate the technology, love it. They love what it's doing for the industry, they hate it. Personally, I think there's good and bad to everything, but I think it's doing a lot of good because it's making people outside of the tattoo community understand us better. And it's building clientele for everybody. And now people that would have never normally thought about getting a tattoo, it's actually a thought in their head. They think it's a tangible thing that they can access to, they can relate to it in some kind of way, which is only growing the community and growing the industry, and it's going to make more opportunities for all of us, and I think it's going to continue to happen for a while, and we have that to thank.
What's cool about the shows at least, is like if you watch Ink Master, Josh Payne was just on the show, and he won. And if you just love the show and you follow it all the way through and you're like, I want to get a tattoo and I want that guy to do it, at least that's directing you to go see a high quality artist instead of just going and seeing the local guy who's whoever closest to your house. Yeah. And there's no saying that the local guy close to your house isn't just as good too. But, it's also to say, not necessarily just because you see somebody on TV makes them an amazing artist. Luckily, I think that there are a lot of shows that do show a lot of great artists, just like you were talking about. But I think that the more time goes on, I think in the beginning of tattoo shows, people just saw people on TV as tattooers and they must be good, right? But as the tattoo shows become more quantity and they're explaining more, people are actually starting to understand the difference between a good tattooer and a bad tattooer. Maybe not as much as a tattooer does. People aren't going to understand that, right? Depth into it. But they are starting to wrap their head around that there is a good and a bad, right? And there is a potential for them both to be in the public eye, right? I agree. So I do think that that's pretty cool about the evolution of shows. I'm really curious to see what the next 5 to 10 years is going to bring, because I think it's going to be a whole new ball game. But it's going to be very interesting to see where it leads, especially with the use of digital technologies and social media, of how it's opening doors up for so many artists.
It has platforms for people. Granted, the way that things are going, it is like a little bit restrictive at this point, but there's this grand platform that anybody can just sort of put their opinion, their work, their stuff out there and just kind of help mold and shape the industry. People have a voice more than they ever have before, and that's pretty crazy.
From being an artist who spent so much time on TV, do you even look at the feedback that you're getting from? Today at the convention, you had a line of people coming to meet you, which is awesome, just to meet you in person. Do you ever look at the feedback online? Yeah, totally.
There are times in my life when I haven't, right? There's times in my life when I avoided it, when I knew that it was stuff that I maybe didn't want to see. This is going to sound really weird, but you really know when you're like doing well when it comes to like a TV or like viewer standpoint. Like you're hot when everybody's talking shit about you.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
It's true. Yeah. So like at all of the moments that I've done television, I've done a bunch of seasons of TV and a bunch of different shows. And it's funny, you see this like arc, right? Like there'll be a lot of people being really nice to you, right? And then a show comes out and within like the second episode, that's like the height. The most people are paying attention to you, and that's when all of the negative shit comes out. And that's when I don't look at my social media.
It's just something like with the internet, people are more willing to say something over the internet than they would to your face. Just because of the lack of the interpersonal communication.
Yeah, well, they don't see you as like a normal, real person. They they see you on TV and they feel like they know you, number one, but they don't have that same respect as if they knew you in person. Like things they would never say in person, they say on the internet, because they also don't believe in a million years that you're going to read it, right? And in the beginning of my career, I did, and it like devastated me. I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. Why would people say this? Like, so I just learned that whenever I'm doing like a new project or something as big as coming out, once it hits, I don't really look at the internet until it stops.
No, that's a good idea. Yeah.
You just have to, because you have to save yourself. Yeah, I remember I remember the first time it happened to me. It was like the first season of New York Inc. I was so excited, and the show came out, and by the second episode, people were like flipping out on me on my Instagram for like two big things. One was everybody was saying that I had a nose job, and it was a terrible nose job. My nose was so ugly. Why would I do that to my face? Like, I was such an idiot. I've never had a nose job in my life. This is the nose I was born with. So that made me feel like garbage, right? And I was like, I'm so ugly. I'm never coming outside again. But obviously not. People are just fucking assholes, right? And then the second thing was I had an accent when I first started in TV, because I'm from Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, and in Philadelphia we have an accent, right? And I would say certain words, and I know in specific I would say drawling instead of drawling with an L.
People are interested in purchasing Grit and Glory merchandise. How do they go about it?
Well, we have a very big online store. It's just gritandglory.com, and everything you can get in the store you can get online, so easy.
So, remaining 2018, early 2019 plans?
I'm doing a couple more conventions coming up. I mean, this is kind of the slower, when it slows down for me, it's more busy during the summer. But I'm doing a convention in Bolivia next month. And I have a convention for next April booked in Ireland. So I have a couple coming up, but I have some more in negotiation. So I will be posting on my social media when I'm coming to others. I've been working on a book for like 2.5 years now. I thought it would be out by now, but working on a book is really hard. And I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be coming out early next year. I'm hoping by February. So I'll be releasing a book. It'll be just about my tattoo artwork and how I derive inspiration, and a little bit about my process. And that's the big projects I have on the table at the moment.
If anybody's interested in getting tattooed by you, how should they go out and reach out to you?
It's pretty easy. You just email me. The email is meganmassacrebooking@gmail.com. If you go to my Instagram and you click that email button, it sends an email right there, so it's super easy. If anybody had any questions about it, they could just call me at my studio. I mean, I might not be the one answering, but there's a lot of other people that can answer the questions for you. And that's just at Grit and Glory. If you go to the Instagram, you can just hit call, or even on my Instagram, if you hit call, it goes right to the studio. And my Instagram, in case you don't know, is at Megan, MEGAN_Massacre, MASSACRE.
Well, you know what? Thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with us.
Absolutely.
Tattoo Snob is huge fans of your work.
Thank you.
Followed you for many years, and we really appreciate an opportunity to talk with you today.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.